What's up, guys? Welcome back to the That Sowdev podcast. My name is Dev. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I appreciate you. We've got some tea to get into. But before you get into the tea, make sure you go ahead and follow me at That Sowdev on Twitter, Instagram, and literally everywhere else, including YouTube. We got a bopping over there. Okay, so now look. I am here to discuss Descendants. Because first of all, if you know me, I love a good Disney movie. I love a good musical. Just saying. And the thing about it is, I didn't like watch Descendants actively as it was airing with the original trilogy. It wasn't until later on, it was actually my mom who introduced it to me, believe it or not. She's like, "Have you watched this?" And I was like, "No." Like at first I was kind of against it, right? But then eventually I got into it and I was gagged a bit. And I was like, "Oh, okay." And it was honestly just before Rise of Red came out. And I think that I really enjoyed Rise of Red because it made it very clear that it was not trying to be the original trilogy. It was its own thing. And I really did appreciate that. And I think that with this new movie, I think it just really expanded on, I think, the potential that Rise of Red had. Because it had a lot of potential. If you watch, not watch, but if you listen to my Rise of Red review, I talk about quite a bit. Okay. It's like a little over an hour. And I really get into the tea because I had a lot of issues. Um, a lot of it was just pickiness, but like for the most part, my biggest concern was how the plot was really surrounding this thing that happened to Bridget, and we never got to see it essentially. And I was like, how did you build this whole movie to be around this event that we never get to see? Like that's one of my biggest things, and that drives me insane. So, I'm not even going to talk about the wigs, girl, but it is what it is. I still really enjoyed the movie. I think that I probably watched that one more than I watched the other ones. That's just me personally, okay? No gun for me. But this new one, I think that it's a breath of fresh air. And say whatever you want to, I think it's the third best movie. I do. I think that the second Descendants is the best. The first one in second place. I think that this one is right in third place. Rise of Red is. I'm saying it's last, but like I said, I watch it the most. So pay no mind to that girl. Okay. But realistically speaking, um, I think that this movie, it just had a lot of life to it. It just felt very full. And I've heard a lot of complaints. I watch YouTube reactions out the behind, baby. Okay. And so I've watched quite a bit of them, and I think for the most part, everybody really enjoys this one, and they had so much fun. I think I only really came across one that was so critical of it that it seemed like they just didn't enjoy anything, and that was crazy to me because I feel like they really stepped it up with this one. Personally, the addition of characters that they added on and look, they were amazing to me, this cast. Still, I wanted more of the previous cast. I didn't like that we just moved on from them because they were so good and I wanted to see them grow within the franchise. But I'll get to later what my kind of theories are and if they sound kind of crazy or not. But I just wanted to hold on to him for a little bit. But with this new cast, it's amazing. It's such a well-rounded cast, and I've seen a lot of people say, there's so many people who, are just there not doing anything, and I think that everybody served a purpose. And something Malia said in an interview, she was kind of like, she just kept wanting more of these characters because they all had just these wonderful moments, and I also felt the same. Like they had these wonderful moments that really filled in the gaps. Like, when they're in this teacup and, in the ocean, and then they meet up with the gang and, Pink pops out a teacup and old boy slaps a teacup out of her hand. Is like, no, this homeboy was traumatized. You know what I mean? Like, it's just things like that that I feel like really added layers to the movie. So I really appreciated all of the characters, the Smees, just adding to those little funny, lighthearted moments. Like, I think everybody was there for a reason and they served their purpose. That was really my tea. Um, I look, I think that, and I don't have many complaints at all about this one at all. Like, I can only really think of one complaint, and it's not a complaint. It's everybody's perception of the story, right? Because if I'm focused on this movie entirely and I'm seeing things play out as they are while not taking in the previous movie and the actions back then, that doesn't make sense to me, right? So while saying that, watching Chloe and Red's fight kind of roll out, it was interesting because something that stuck with me was when Red said, "Oh, like, when I was a villain, that worked out well for you because we had to save your mom." You know what I mean? And I think that obviously Chloe is going through an identity crisis, and I think that this was so well done. And I honestly think that Malia, her acting stepped it up like significantly, and that's not even a joke. I think she really ate it up. I think she was my top candidate in the acting department for this movie. Definitely, definitely when she broke down, I really felt that great emotion, and she waited for the right moment to drop that tear. Just saying. Anywho, so great acting, truly. But it was just the idea that I don't know, Chloe was really stuck on figuring out this current timeline together, which yes, they talked about before Red's mom went missing. That kind of changed things and priorities and how they looked at things, and you know what I mean? So it was kind of interesting because Chloe was really just wrapped up in her own thing that I don't think that she was really able to help in the way that she wanted to or thought that she could. Because look, at first, at the beginning of the movie, right? Chloe is like, let's go tell my mom. She'll know what to do, right? She's kind of naive and she's in Wonderland full of tricks where things are prying on you being naive. Prying, whatever, float your boat here, girl. But anyway, but, you know, it's the simple fact that, yeah, she went to her mom. It didn't work out well. She was like, absolutely not. And Red just wanted to go anyway, and they should have. Um, but you also get to the point where Chloe is like, we're on this chessboard, and okay, this is chess. This is how this works. You go there, and homeboys get flung literally outside of the country. So it's just multiple moments where Chloe does have an idea, and I love that she's really stepping up and taking charge. But her ideas aren't resulting in things that are helping them. And they're in moments of life or death. And they're literally trying to save her mother. Like, they have to do absolutely everything that they can. And so, like, that's why I'm not entirely understanding, you know, Chloe's whole like, it doesn't make any sense to me why she's that upset. And it's not that, I don't understand what she's going through because she's going through an identity crisis, big time. She is. She doesn't know who she is in this timeline, right? And she really wants to figure that out, but Red needs to figure out how to save her mother at all cost. I mean, wouldn't you want to? That makes sense. So in a way, it seems kind of selfish for Chloe to have this kind of outburst in the midst of it rather than, having a conversation actually. And I know it might have been difficult. I'm just saying, not saying quite be easy because, Red is selfish. The girl can be selfish. That's the T, right? So it can't all be on Chloe. At the same time, Chloe's really having her moment in this movie. Because I think Red kind of had her moment in the last movie, for sure. So, you know, I look, I think that the acting was phenomenal in this movie, like I said. So all of these, scenarios, they were really executed in the most phenomenal way. But I think that these things that I'm talking about, it's good writing. It really is because it's provoking perspective. It's provoking you to think. You know what I mean? And it's also kind of showing you that 2 things can happen at the same time because Chloe's not wrong for how she feels at all. Neither is Red. The thing that got me was that last comment that Red said. I was like, "Oh my goodness," like, Red, like, you clocking Chloe's tea right now, like, she's very valid in her emotions right now. How she's going about it is a little crazy, but you know what I mean? It was nothing that they couldn't talk out. And, it probably could have resolved in a better way, but, Red being Red, hello, girl, she decides that she wants to make a little snide comment. It was very nasty if the shoe fits. And honestly, that was low key a Cinderella bar at the same time. So, like, I'm sure that was a double whammy to her. Just saying. Well, look, so I thought that honestly the conflict of them, I thought it was actually great. I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic. I'm like, that's really how you do a tug and pull and show imperfections of people and how, conversations can happen and how sometimes people can make mistakes and how people can be redeemed. Like there are amazing messages within this entire show. And, it just shows how complicated things, do happen. They do, but they can't be figured out. You know what I mean? Some people might have their feeling error, but you know what I mean? But they can be pulled out from the dark, baby. Look, I'm not trying to say go save people, girl, because you can't save everybody. That's just the tea. This is a Disney movie. Let's be for real, okay? Um, but this movie was so good. It was. I really enjoyed the adventure. The adventure felt so great. I enjoyed seeing them in the daytime and the nighttime where they had to sleep and it was dark. It felt cozy. It felt comforting. And, the mushrooms with the lights, like it was amazing. I thought the set design was wonderful. They really had some practical sets there. I said, whoa, girl. Like, I saw the behind the scenes and I was like, "Wow, that is amazing." Like, you could really feel the realness and the textures of the world through the movie. It was so bright and so bold, and I absolutely loved it. And, it felt like this second trilogy now knows what it wants to be. And, unfortunately, they had to earn it in the first one. They did. And as soon as they kinda get on their vibe with the second one, you know they only have 1 more to go, but that also can work in their favor because some might say it could have been the opposite for the original trilogy. Well, the second movie was the best. First movie in second place, third movie in third place. Well, this one could be 3, 2, 1 for all we know, or 2, 3, 1. I don't know. Well, I think either way it's gonna be better than the first. So it could potentially be either or. But, I think a wonderful job even, like, without Kenny Ortega, because some people are like, without Kenny Ortega, blah, 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 and honestly, I was worried myself, but I thought that they did a good job with the, first movie. Um, this movie with the choreography, it stepped it up insanely, baby, like, let me tell you, like, whoa. The first thing I think of is dancing with the enemy, like, those soldiers and the cast, like, dancing towards each other on a real chessboard surrounded by, like I said, practical sets that are real, So just really putting them into the environment and, you know, I'm sure as an actor, that had to be insane. That probably had to be the best way you could have put somebody into character. I'm sure you truly felt like you were into that world. And it was awesome to see because that's what it looked like on the screen. So wonderful job with that. I mean, even the ending choreography, amazing. I mean, all throughout as well. You also have, and I love that they really added more cultural layers to Descendants as well. I mean, they added in Encanto, which I also at the same time was very confused about. Like, I enjoyed his character. He did it wonderfully. It was so fun. I was just kind of confused because, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure they've introduced anybody that, like, new in the Disney world. You know what I mean? So I was just a bit confused where that kinda came from. I wonder if that was just to reach an audience. That's my and by that, I mean age range. Okay, baby? Just to be clear. So, like, that's just what I had a feeling they were doing. So, I mean, because they did Princess and the Frog, but they did that in the original trilogy too. I wonder if he knows he has a sister or if they completely changed the timeline. We don't really know any of that, to be honest, and I get the feeling that we might eventually. So I'm excited to see because, again, coming back to that little theory I said that I had, um, I get this feeling that we might actually see the worlds collide in Descendants, like the timelines, pun kind of intended, but like not really, because I really get the idea that there, because look, the Queen of Hearts evilness seeped out at the end of that movie. Right. She had a little outburst. She's like, she had no idea where that came from. But what was interesting enough is that I don't think that Red had a warranted reaction. Like, I feel like she should have been a little bit worried that she heard that. Like, oh, is everything okay? Like, because what did throwing that watch in there really do? You know what I mean? Because did they really know? Are there more consequences now? I'm just getting the feeling that they're going to be because who knows? It's set up for another movie, and I just get the feeling that we may see some older characters again. It would be awesome if they combined the first two movie casts and put them together. That would be top tier. I would gag. I'm just saying. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with this third movie. It was so good. So I probably think that my favorite new character might be, and I don't know, like Captain Hook's daughter, like for sure. What I really enjoyed about her is that although she was a villain, she didn't necessarily feel like one, not because the actor couldn't portray it, because I think she did a great job of having the moments of villain come out, but it felt like a protective shield more so than who she was. And you have to be a good actor to really convey that message to me. And I think she did a wonderful job. Acting was amazing. Like I said, like everything felt natural. So I loved every ounce of it. So did my family. 10 out of 10, all age ranges. I'm telling you, we love Descendants in this household. And I, look, first of all, obsessed with Kylie. That's my girly, okay? Music hitting. And I really feel like she's really stepped into this role and expanded Red in ways that I think people really are enjoying because she's obviously in a different timeline and she kind of has to figure it out. And she has things going on in this lifetime that lifetime timeline, whatever, that she now has to adjust to. I mean, she is kind of sort of, she got a man. She got a man. Okay. It wasn't expected, but it wouldn't have made sense unless they changed the timeline. Changing that timeline essentially allowed them to do literally whatever they want to. Well, I'm sure that made it very easy to create an entirely new concept, right? To get this going because I don't know, Wonderland popping now, girl. It is. It looked amazing. The CGI was so natural to me. And on top of that, with the practical sets, I think it was a great combination. I love when people utilize it in ways that make sense, like it just sploosh things up a bit. It's not the whole being or half of it or anything like that. It can be utilized in great ways to me. So, anywho, That's really all I have for today, guys. I love Descendants. I don't have a whole hour to do on this one because I don't have things to complain about. The wigs looked amazing. They didn't switch them a billion times. Malia's transition into evil Malia, I mean, wonderful. That was a wonderful transition. The editing, the effects on that, amazing. The effects on the maze, amazing. The effects from the cars, amazing. Like I said, the CGI was wonderful. And the movie overall looks more cinematic than the other ones. I think the other ones look more like uh real live stage plays. And this one, I think it combined that with the CGI more so this time, and it just really took it to another level. So appreciate everybody behind the scenes down to the PAs, baby, because I know that it takes a whole, I would say a village, but it literally like takes a whole country, it seems like, to make it happen. Anyway, so I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for tuning into this podcast today. Thank you so much for tuning into the That's So Dev podcast where you stay true and stay you. Y'all know I had to get that in. Y'all know I did. Anyway, make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at That's So Dev on Twitter, Instagram, and literally everywhere else, especially YouTube, because we kind of popping over there. And I will be seeing you on the next podcast. All right. Peace.